There's Arthur Ashe Stadium. It seats over 22,000. It is the largest tennis stadium in the world. The U.S. Open altogether welcomes more than 850,000 fans each year. But if the tournament happens this year, that will likely look very different. As we welcome in John Wertheim for the first time this evening. John, some plans starting to be revealed by the USTA, reported today by the Associated Press about what the U.S. Open might look like, the changes that would be made. What are you hearing about them, and do you think they are wise changes?
Well, until we hear otherwise, this tournament is a go. And eventually they're going to have an official word. But meanwhile, there's been a lot of scrambling and a lot of planning behind the scenes. As you say, Brett, no fan seems to be a given. And there are a number of other sort of twists and turns. Here you can see some of them. Obviously, no spectators is the big one. But we're going to see fewer ball kids. We're going to have limits on entourage. I've heard one entourage member per player. And if you think of some of the top players, that's really quite significant. The locker room access, I've heard, is not just going to be reduced, but there are going to be dozens of locker rooms on site. Some of the luxury suites that are used for corporate functions, they are going to be handed over to the players. There are no showers there, but players may have their own individual locker rooms. Again, the players may come from overseas on chartered flights. I've heard they're talking a lot about food and beverage. There may be no hospitality on site. Players may have to bring their own water. There will be temperature checks. I mean, this is going to be very, very different from the tournament that wrapped up in September with Bianca Andreescu and Rafa Nadal winning. But the good news, I suspect, is that, as we speak today, the U.S. Open 2020 is a go. It's going to look a lot different. But as of now, it's full steam ahead, guys.
Yeah, it's a go, and it's going to be in New York. From everything we've been hearing, there were some rumors earlier on that they could move sites. They were looking at that potentially, but it seems like it's going to, if it happens, it's going to happen in New York, and it's very likely that it will happen without spectators. So it'll be interesting to see how some of these adjustments are able to be implemented. Obviously, players are having to adjust already. So I think, if the tournament is able to happen, that's going to be the most important part. Everybody would certainly prefer that, or most people would certainly prefer that. I think it'll be interesting to see whether the top players are going to be okay going to play without fans, going to play without their entourages, which could be family members. Think about Roger Federer, who travels, with his wife and his kids, and has a certain way that he goes about these big events. And, so that could be a little bit of a question mark in terms of players being on board at the very top levels. But it's good signs so far that they are looking at all these different scenarios.
What about that, Paul? They say that the entourages are going to have to be smaller. So that means Turtle's going to have to stay at home and some of the rest of the guys. I mean, for guys like Roger, how does that, change the dynamic?
Look, it changes it a lot. And I think one of the other things that we, Chanda mentioned a bunch of parts about the entourage thing. The other part are even if planes are chartered, are these players all going to want to fly over here and be away from their families? And then what happens when they go back from the U.S. Open? So there's a lot of major decisions that have to be made on a number of sides. And you guys, John, you did a great job kind of recouping all the different categories. The question is, within those categories, the numbers and actual delineation of what they need to do is going to be still so fluid. We're still 3 months away. So a lot can still happen. But like you said, so many good signs right now.
Yeah, I would add, too, that already people are saying, well, no fans and all these restrictions. This tournament's going to come with an asterisk. I would say something very different. I think the accoutrement, if you will, I think it's going to be a badge. I think whoever wins this tournament is really going to show a lot about their professionalism, about their ability to compartmentalize, about their ability to adjust to different circumstances. In a way, let's assume this event goes off. Regardless of what the field looks like, regardless of how different this seems, I think the winner will really make a statement about their professionalism. So I would not, I would reject that issue that this is going to be an asterisk tournament. I don't think that at all.
USTA says they'll make their final decision about the U.S. Open about mid-June. So we look forward to that happening.